News from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, 21st February 2017. I'm Leslie Joseph. This is the SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glenbarrow's Pest Control and Guest House. These are the top stories this hour. Nationally, vendors in Bastère are crying out that there is bias in who is being targeted for removal. And while Tourism Minister Lindsay Grant is hopeful for a record-breaking tourism season, the figures tell a different tale. Regionally, the government of Dominica is reviewing the issuance of diplomatic passports. Internationally, a suicide bombing in Pakistan today has claimed 5 lives. And in sport, Leicester City will play in the knockout stages of the UEFA Champions League for the first time tomorrow. Now for a look at the stories in detail. The recent removal of a number of vendors from the streets of Bastère by authorities is continuing to create a stir. A number of vendors have been crying out that in some cases their sole means of earning a living has been taken from them. While many vendors do acknowledge that they operate along the city's sidewalks and roadsides without the necessary licenses and do inhibit foot and vehicular traffic, they are claiming that there has been obvious bias at work regarding who has been removed so far. One vendor, in a message to her customers which was circulated on social media, said while she had been shut down, other vendors in the same situation had been left alone by authorities to continue plying their trade.
I could not sell today because Officer Donnelly took up my tables and my tent from off the Bayside Road, saying that I didn't have any permission to sell there. And I had to get a letter on Friday. But everybody else who got letter on Friday, the grills and the stuff are still there, but my tent and my table is gone. But to God be the glory, great things he has done.
Yet another vendor who was clearly upset said the unfair treatment, which had cost her vital business on the weekend, is not what she voted for.
Mr. Kanda, right now I am hurting, I am hurting, I can't believe I worked so hard for you, right? To get unity in here, and this is the kind of knockout again, All on platform I went with her, and this is the kind of knockout I give people, You understand? You need to try and help do something about this, because this is real ridiculous. Right now I'm mad, Yeah? Because I had sleepless night, I lose my work over my way because what I was doing to help get unity winning, and now unity in this is the kind of treatment again. After I work so hard that I say, you ain't gonna victimize this small man, and you're gonna be fair share fall. This is fair share fall where people going to, They go remember, that 4 years just around the corner, 4 years gone done right now, and the same small man do they're going back, going knock back pan, and me not campaign nobody now. Must remember that my family big and me got plenty of friends.
Former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, says the reality is that the issue of unregulated vending in Bastère must be addressed. However, it must be undertaken fairly and with compassion.
You cannot have double standards. Otherwise, you will fall from grace and you will only have one term. That is the message here. And unless the vendors issue is treated in a humane and consultative way, possibly finding spaces and places where they can be properly allowed to ply their trade, you will have confusion in the country. Because, yes, the sidewalks should be free, but people have to live.
Minister of Tourism, Commerce, International Trade and Industry, Honorable Lindsay Grant, has said the Federation is positioned to have a record-breaking tourism season. In a recent public address in Challengers, Minister Grant said a record number of ships can be expected in December 2017.
When I look at the schedule for just December of this year, December, you don't have one day in December when you ain't have a ship. Not one day. The taxi drivers them balling now say, by Grant, you're giving us too much now. That's what they say now. Not one day in December you have free. And what I want to tell you, they have more than 1 days when we have 4 ships, 5 ships. There's a day when we have 7 ships. 7.
Additionally, the tourism minister said while December is expected to be particularly outstanding, 2017 on the whole will be a record-breaking year. He boasted that the number of cruise vessels and passengers expected for 2017 will reset all previous records.
We break the records them last year with the most passengers. 913,000 last year. Break the record. We break the record last year with the number of ships, 371 ships. This year, we're moving from 913,000 to 1.09 million. We're breaking the million passenger mark, and we're breaking the record again. And on top of that, we're giving you over 400 ships this year.
Contrary to Mr. Grant's claims, the Caribbean Tourism Organization CTO reported a decrease in cruise ship passengers to St. Kitts and Nevis for the first 6 months of 2016 compared to the same period in 2015. 524,546 cruise passengers were reported as arriving in St. Kitts between January and June, a drop of 7.1% when compared to the same period in 2015. Regionally, the government of Dominica is reviewing the process by which diplomatic passports are issued. Kimani St. John reports.
Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit has announced that a review of the process through which diplomatic passports are issued will soon be completed. The issuance process has been under review for some time as government seeks to strengthen the general protocols. Last year, government contracted an independent consultant to assist with reviewing that process. Speaking on Kyrie's hearing on Friday, the Honorable Prime Minister noted that the independent consultant will advise government on any inconsistencies which may exist within the current policy in order to have those matters rectified.
Since last year, not this month, not last month, not 2017, since last year, we engaged the services of a well-qualified consultant to independently review the process of appointments of diplomats and the issuance of diplomatic passports, and to make recommendations to the government on are there gaps, are there inconsistencies in the application of the policy.
The Honorable Prime Minister indicated that this review process will allow for a more transparent process. He says very soon all Dominicans will have access to the policy as it will be made public.
The consultant has been engaged since last year to provide this independent assessment and recommendations to the government in order for us to have a more transparent, if one may want to use that word, process, a more open process, a clearer process, so anyone who wants to see how we arrive at the appointments of these people can have a copy of this policy, which will be made public, which will be on the government website, which will be laid in the parliament, so that the 71,000 of our citizens who reside in Dominica and those who reside overseas would have access to the copy and be able to determine in the future, going forward, whether the government has breached any of the provisions of that new policy. So I am hoping very soon from now to be in a position to make some announcements on this process.
Heads of government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, have ended 2 days of intense deliberations on issues such as regional security, correspondent banking, and a review of the CARICOM single market and economy. Their 28th intersessional meeting was held from February 16th to 17th, 2017 in Georgetown, Guyana. Heads also addressed what they term unacceptable levels of crime in the region and were asked to weigh in on the political turmoil in Dominica.
The heads of government of CARICOM meet regularly to determine and provide policy direction for the region. When they met in Guyana last week, the issue of crime was high on the agenda. Speaking to the media following the 2 days of deliberations, Chair Guyanese President His Excellency David Granger said current regional crime levels are unacceptable. He says the heads have resolved to do more to curb the scourge, including placing greater focus on the social determinants of crime, particularly among the youth.
Our attorneys general, and in the case of those countries which do not have attorneys general, the ministers responsible for legal affairs, will take action to finalize agreements which are essential to the implementation of the regional crime and security agenda. We will be seeking to take full advantage of opportunities for capacity building to address existing and emerging threats, including those related to cybersecurity and cybercrime, crime prevention, and drug demand reduction.
Deliberations also focused on correspondent banking, including the need for urgent regional action to address de-risking by global banks. CARICOM countries will contribute $240,000 to lobbyists to act on behalf of Caribbean-based banks to avoid censure and loss of correspondent banking access.
We consider the strategy and action plan submitted by the Committee of Central Bank Governors, and we've asked the Committee of Ministers of Finance with responsibility for correspondent financing to assume the oversight of its rollout. We noted particularly the need to strengthen member states' compliance with the global regulatory standards with regard to anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism and tax transparency information exchange.
President Granger and Grenadian Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell were asked to weigh in on political developments in Dominica that include a public meeting calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Dominica's opposition leader led a delegation to Guyana to coincide with the CARICOM meeting, hoping to capitalize on the influx of regional media covering the event. The CARICOM leaders say, however, that they will not intervene.
We received a brief from the Prime Minister and we regard it as an internal matter. I do not think this forum is an appropriate place to discuss what took place, but it is quite possible that the leader of the opposition may not have been explaining or describing precisely what occurred on the streets of Roseau 2 weeks ago.
Any issue that occurs at the level of country in CARICOM must be settled within that particular local situation. And all we would ask at the level of heads, as I said, I've been in government and I've been in opposition, is that whatever disputes, of course, exist, the resolution of it must be done peacefully.
The leaders also discussed tourism, travel, and technology. They approved the draft roadmap for a single ICT space, which they hope will be a driving force for social and economic development in the community.
On the international scene, suicide bombers attacked a court complex in northern Pakistan earlier today, killing at least 5 people, officials said, in the latest incident in a new surge of Islamist violence.
It's the latest in a string of bombings to hit Pakistan in 10 days. A faction of the Pakistani Taliban is claiming an attack on a court in the northwestern district of Charsada. Authorities are hailing the rapid response by police forces, which they say minimized the casualty count.
The bombers tried to enter the courts. At first they attacked with hand grenades and pistols. The police retaliated for about 15 or 20 minutes. All the suicide bombs exploded after they were hit by the police.
This isn't the first time the legal community in Pakistan has come under attack. Last Wednesday, a van carrying local judges was targeted in Peshawar. And last August, an entire generation of lawyers in the city of Quetta were killed. The 70 victims came under attack while visiting a slain colleague at a local hospital. Lawyers have voiced their frustration with authorities in the past by boycotting appearances in court. The recent uptick in violence has placed security forces on high alert, and 100 suspected Islamist militants have reportedly been killed in recent days. But many in Pakistan aren't convinced the measures are enough to quell the violence, with the military establishment pointing the finger of blame to neighboring Afghanistan while failing to go after the militants at home.
Two human rights workers in Cambodia are being investigated for inciting violence during a rally last year. Rights organizations say it's another example of a deteriorating situation for people working to improve the lives of Cambodians. Wayne Hay reports from Phnom Penh.
In October last year, a peaceful march in Phnom Penh turned violent. About 150 people came out to mark World Habitat Day by highlighting the issue of illegal land seizures when local government security guards attacked them. Two rights workers were punched repeatedly, and afterwards they laid a complaint with police that hasn't been investigated. Instead, the two men were summoned to court for questioning as suspects for inciting the violence.
This is the strategy of the government to restrict and threaten human rights protectors. Today, the human rights situation in Cambodia is in serious decline.
International rights organisations have condemned the investigation and say it's another case of judicial harassment. It's estimated there are as many as 26 rights and political activists in prison in Cambodia. The Cambodian government is often criticised for human rights abuses, but it says the organisations that make a lot of those comments are propped up by foreign governments that want to see political change here. This country is still recovering from one of the world's worst human rights abuses, the genocide carried out by the Khmer Rouge. As many as 2 million were killed. Nem photographed prisoners for the Khmer Rouge and has started his own political party to contest next year's election. He showed us the house near the Tol Slang prison where he developed the photos. He says the rule of law in Cambodia is still evolving, and after witnessing the worst of humanity, he believes he can help shape a better rights environment.
This party does not entirely oppose the government like others in Cambodia, but I do oppose them when it comes to things they are not doing well, like handling the drug problem, gambling, corruption, and the neutrality of the courts.
But changing things may not be easy. Samad says the possibility of being arrested or even killed is part of the job here.
I've been threatened before in the form of traffic accidents that are clearly set up, and also verbal threats. Working on human rights means we have to always be ready. When I went to court, I was prepared to go to prison, but I can't afford to panic. I still have to do my work and do everything to help people.
Prison could still be possible as the prosecutors decide whether to charge the two men.
And now we take a look at sports. English champion football team Leicester City will play in the knockout stages of the UEFA Champions League for the first time on Wednesday when players visit Spain's Sevilla. However, all is not well with the team, which made headlines as one of the greatest sporting underdogs just a few months ago. The team was knocked out of the FA Cup by third-tier Millwall and is under threat of relegation from the Premier League. Lee Wellings reports from Leicester.
They were fearless and unstoppable. Leicester City winning the Premier League last year is one of the most remarkable stories in the history of sport, celebrated across the globe. But miracles tend to raise expectations.
In May last year, the city was full of euphoric, delirious Leicester fans celebrating their extraordinary triumph. But that joy has been replaced by quiet trepidation, the fear of relegation. The club are just one place, 1 point above the dreaded Premier League relegation zone.
I returned to the market at the heart of the city to ask what the fans think has gone wrong.
Wrong format, messing around with the players, just
The same players, though, as last year?
Same players, but playing them in the positions where they're not comfortable.
The players' wages changed. Maybe it's gone to their heads.
When they got on the roll last year, everything worked. You know, we're seeing, you remember Jamie Vardy's goal against Liverpool, it was ridiculous. But it's the sort of thing you can only do when everything's going your way.
Vardy went from journeyman striker to England international and hero. His form has gone. Algerian Riyad Mahrez is no longer playing like African Footballer of the Year. These heroes stayed at Leicester, and manager Claudio Ranieri has shown faith in them. But the magic has gone. The bigger, richer clubs worked out how to stop them. On Saturday, they were humiliated in the FA Cup by Millwall, 2 divisions below. But what seems harsh, almost outrageous, is speculation Ranieri will be sacked.
Does that sadden you, anger you? Does it show that football is a crazy business?
No, it's a football, normal business. Everything is a story. If we go back in 10 years, 20 years old, it's the same.
You're going to put this right?
I love this job. I love.
The club's Thai owners have reassured him his job is safe, for now. But this is Leicester. There's a twist. Winning the league meant Champions League football, and they have succeeded in Europe. They won their group, reached the knockout stage, and faced Sevilla in the first leg in Spain.
Do you reckon they might win the Champions League?
But what this modest club from the English East Midlands proved last year is that anything is possible.
And that item brings us to the end of the KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glen Barrow's Pest Control and the Guest House. Join us again at 5:45 for our comprehensive evening news package. I am Leslie Joseph.
Glen Barrow's International Pest Control provides a comprehensive approach for a pest-free environment for both residential and commercial clients. Our services include lawn spraying and fungus control services to ensure the safety of your family and pets, commercial pest and rodent control, pre-construction soil treatment, subterranean termite control, and tent fumigation. Call Glen Barrow's International Pest Control at 465-2935 or 469-5294. Glen Barrow's International Pest Control, setting new standards in pest control.